Hello, welcome back to Danganronpa Lapse. So, I left it on a bit of a cliffhanger, I think, even for myself. It's only been a week since I played, but it feels like way longer, because this week has been so long. Anyway, we just discovered Pandora's body. Almost forgot her name, I'm sorry. We just discovered her in the spa. I don't know who did it. Honestly, I'm thinking... I haven't even started the investigation yet, but from the very beginning, I think it could be Ashley. I think that would be interesting if she ended up being a killer. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Anyway, let's get into it, because... What's happening? I darted out of the spa lounge, my eyes tearing through the hall as I screamed at the top of my lungs for help from anyone. Help! Two people swept in at the sound of my voice. What is it? Stop making so much noise. The music is making enough of a racket. It's Pandora. She's... Where is she? We raced back to the spa lounge. Cyrus's and Cannon's eyes were bound immediately towards the horrific sight. What's that in the pool? I see something in the pool. Cannon gasped sharply and flinched, nearly toppling over backwards from the recoil. Cyrus's expression hardened. A quiet anger emanated from him. It was almost palpable in the air. I myself was completely drained. All I could do was stare in a cold silence. Finally, the music ceased and a new announcement began. Oh, so that's the three of them. And that stopped it. What is that in the pool?
At last, a body has been discovered in the spa lounge. You will be granted a period of investigation, and then we will begin our class trial. Please accept this generous gift of a special report called the Monokuma file. It will be printed from the digital kiosk and it...
I'm tongue-tied, I'm sorry.
And it outlines the details of our poor lost friend. Your lives depend on solving this case, so get a crack on it.
The announcement cut out, allowing stiff apprehension to suffocate the scene. Investigation? They want us to investigate Pandora's dead body? And how dare that announcement call her a poor lost friend? It's their fault for forcing this game on us. Echo, please calm yourself. It appears we've been given an opportunity to right this wrong. It may be difficult to swallow, but this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Someone did this. A culprit. Huh? Culprit? It's only appropriate. The culprit we are seeking is the killer responsible for Pandora's death. His voice was firm, but I could see him clenching his jaw and his eyebrows furrowed as he looked back at the dead body. Cannon, however, stood unmoving. She neither moved nor spoke since I saw her flinch at the first sight. It's like she froze. Right. The door flew open, suddenly, and I heard everyone clamoring into the spa lounge entryway. Say shrieked and immediately fainted. That would be me. Nope, goodbye. Say! The rest of the students made their way in, fright painting everyone's faces as they each caught sight of the spa's terrible centerpiece. Unbelievable. I wish that the announcement was made in jest, but it appears I have been made a fool for hoping. Oh. This is too much, man. Why, Pandora? Why? Everyone seemed at a loss, with good reason for sure. The announcement said we were given a period of investigation, but I couldn't help but think it was such a detached request. Investigate the murder of our friend? Where would we even begin? Missy's commanding voice broke the silence. So, we've been instructed to investigate such a thing. The Monokuma file should tell us all about the means of her death. But how do we... Oh, sorry, that's not her. That's Echo. But how do we even start? Does anyone know the first thing about investigating a dead body? No one spoke up, but Missy pressed on. All we can do is investigate to the best of our ability. If there's even a small, trifling matter that plays into this, keep it in mind. We need to put our best foot forward in investigation if we are to find this heartless culprit. I have a bad feeling that the class trial may be an unforgiving scene. It's such a tragedy. Dreadful more so that we must be the ones to discover the culprit among us. Everyone was visibly stressed. We all stood some feet away from the body, afraid of approaching the reality of our situation. The air was thick with tension, but Ashley cut through. Missy's right. We need to get to the bottom of this. Someone killed our friend for some awful reason, if not for the ultimate prize. Murder is murder. Someone dies at another's hand and that life is taken away. One lives and one dies. There's no gray area about it. Ashley's eyes were fiery with intent. Yeah, I don't think she's the first killer, but I think it would be interesting if she ended up being a killer. She's very, like, passionate and dead set on being like, no, this is horrible, this is bad. But imagine if she was the killer. That would be twisty. Someone here. She trailed off, but we could fill in the blanks on our own. She didn't dare to utter the idea that someone standing within our ranks did this. She marched over and gently laid a hand on Pandora's, sharing a moment of silence for her. The rest of the group was unnerved, but silently agreed. Oh. So I think she was strangled from behind, but I don't know. Missy and Ashley were stern, but they were right. I was shocked at the sight of Pandora's body. But I mostly felt sad. She looked peaceful, suspended in a newfound endless slumber. The longer I looked at Pandora, the more the suffocating melancholy in my heart grew. My heart ached to hear her voice again, to see her smile. She had so much life, and it was dashed away in an instant. I clung to whatever memories I had of her. I couldn't let her warmth, her love, her hope go unforgotten. Someone killed her. And we needed to find out who. Not only for our peace of mind, but for Pandora's sake. Despite my fervor, I was still anxious about investigating a body. It was only natural. Just this morning, Pandora was so animated, sharing her breakfast pastries and getting along with everyone. But now all signs of life were erased, leaving a cold semblance of her person. I tried to work through the nerves by asking the others their thoughts on the situation. That is, if anyone had anything to say. Ooh, here we go. Investigation. How do I investigate? Can I look at the Monokuma file? I want to look at that first. The Monokuma file sheds some light on Pandora's death. It looks like a considerable amount has been conveniently omitted. I like this OG music. The investigation music, I like it. It brings back memories of when I spent a whole summer just playing all 3 of the Danganronpa games. Or rather, The entire file has been paraphrased for the purpose of vagueness. May I take a look? Missy handed me a blank postcard-sized sheet. That's tiny. Okay. Monokuma File 1. Okay. Victim report. Victim, Pandora Aspere. Cause of death, victim suffered from strangulation. No further injuries detected. The victim's body was discovered in the second floor spa lounge. Victim suffered strangulation. The estimated time of death is 16:05, which is 4? 16 is 4. Listen, I'm not good with the 24-hour time, okay? I'm not good with it. I think it's 4 p.m. or something like that. 4? Because 13 is 1. Yeah, 4:05. Sorry, I had to count on my fingers like I'm in kindergarten or something. No further injuries detected. So it was strangulation. But is that all the information we have? Unfortunately. What time is it now? I don't remember. Did they say what time it was? Because she died at 4:05. That means... like, how much time has passed between her dying and the body being discovered? However, we have yet to inspect the scene itself. I trust none of the first witnesses shifted anything upon arrival. No, I didn't touch anything. I saw her body, ran out, and yelled for help, which called Cyrus and Cannon. Neither of them approached her. Well, there's not much else we can do. I swallowed hard. I still wasn't ready to confront the body, but I steeled myself regardless. Something deep in my heart told me I needed to do this. Echo, I know what you're thinking. It's hard, but we need to face her. Okay, I want to look at her body now. It's Pandora's body. Pandora's bracelet, formerly a rose gold color like my own, was now a vibrant neon pink. Interesting. I guess it meant she's gone. As difficult as it is, we have to search the body and the scene for clues. Nevertheless... oh, sorry, she's not talking. I'm like, sorry. Nevertheless, Missy was having a hard time looking directly at Pandora's body. Do you notice anything odd? I briefly looked at Pandora's neck. It doesn't look like a clean strangulation. It looks like it was something thicker. Either it was thicker or they didn't have a good grip on her neck. Because if it was like, I don't know, if it was like a small wire type thing, it wouldn't make such a big mark, right? Unless it has to be something thick, or the person didn't have a good enough grip, or she was strangling. Struggling. I can speak. Her neck seems to be in pretty bad shape. It looks red from some kind of stress. Echo, hello? Did you not read the Monokuma file we just read 2 seconds ago? Hello, let's go. Get with the program. But other than that, I can't really figure anything else out. The victim report. According to the Monokuma file, the cause of death states she suffered... Why? What is wrong with me? I'm so sorry. She suffered strangulation. Let's think about it. If she was strangled, with what did the culprit strangle her? That was a bit of an awkward sentence, but good question. Do you think the culprit went to the climbing center and used a rope? Or perhaps they cruelly used their own bare hands? No, they didn't use their bare hands because otherwise there would be handprints on her neck. I shuddered at the thought. The fact that we had to think of how the culprit committed such a thing was unnerving. I want to look at this thing in the pool. Hello? Click. There's a small scrap of paper in the pool. What's that? I'm not sure. I carefully fished out the scrap of paper, taking care not to tear it. What the heck is that? Oh, wait. That's her secret. That's the secret Pandora was given. It was soaked, causing the words to be completely illegible. Oh, it's impossible to read. Yeah, it's ruined. It almost fell apart in my hands. But you can clearly see that it has the Monokuma symbol or whatever, the mastermind symbol. I don't know. They're using Monokuma, but I don't think this is Monokuma's doing. I don't know. But you can clearly see it. I'm pretty sure it's the secret that she was given, right? That she had showed it to Echo. And I don't know if she showed it to anyone else though. Only to them. A note, perhaps. However, the writing is impossible to decipher at this point. But how could this refuse be remotely related to the case at hand? Don't know. It seems kinda out of place though. Remember, the announcement from this morning said there was a special gift for whoever went to the atrium. That is correct. Is it possible that this note was the supposed special gift? I can't say. However, I noticed the larger ink blots were vaguely in the shape of something I had seen before. I left the shreds of paper on the side of the pool. Okay, is there anything else to look at before I talk to anybody? No? Let's talk to... Oh, this is cute. I could pick that and they move. Oh, I like this. Okay, let's go from the top. I'm gonna go in order. I think I'm gonna be sick. I rubbed his back as he took deep breaths. Hey, it'll be okay. Art could barely eke out a word in his state. Eek? Okay, Ashley next. We haven't talked to you in days. Hello, Ashley.
Echo. It's selfish, but after I heard the announcement, I was relieved to see you standing in the room. That said, Pandora didn't deserve this.
No one deserves this.
I just hope she didn't suffer.
Ashley fell silent and stared at her lost friend. I had never seen Ashley so distraught. Alrighty. Let's talk to Cyrus. This is distressing to say the least. Echo, were you the first one here? Yeah. I didn't catch anyone on my way here though, so I can't say I saw anyone suspicious who would have done this. Is Cyrus gonna suspect Echo? Because they were the first one to get to the scene? You came pretty quickly after I shouted. Did you happen to see anyone?
I can't say that I did. I was in the climbing center right next door too.
Was Cannon with you? She came in about the same time as you, if I recall correctly.
No, I was by myself. While I was in the climbing center, I left the door open if anyone wanted to join in recreation. No one came by the center and I didn't leave until I heard your voice. I ran into Cannon shortly thereafter, in the hallway, just in front of the spa lounge.
Weird. I didn't run into anyone in the first floor either, so whoever did it must have just vanished?
That's unlikely. Regardless, how did the culprit give us the slip?
Cyrus was grumbling to himself as he tried to organize the events past. Is it really possible that the music provoked murder? I don't know, because what time did the music start turning on? I don't remember. Did they say what time it was when it started turning on? She was killed at 4:05. Because it didn't seem like the music was on for very long. And I feel like strangulation isn't a very quick death. I feel like she struggled a little bit, but I do think it was done from behind. I doubt she even saw who did it to her. But I don't know. Like, when did the music turn on? Like, that's what I want to know. And what time is it now? That's what I want to know. I can't wrap my head around music being used to motivate something so extreme. I agree. I could not condone the vilifying of music. It's proven that music has therapeutic qualities, but conversely, select sounds have the ability to cause anxiety and other negative effects. In that case, maybe the motivating music was meant to make us stop thinking clearly? I definitely felt startled when it began. Perhaps. The rhythm of the music can affect your body. Given our experience with the motivating music, it was high-paced and likely used to cause, as the announcer said, blood-pumping excitement. No, it just made me annoyed because it was so loud in my ears. I suppose those qualities could have been abused to activate a fight or flight's response that would inevitably end up like this. But how long? When did the music start? I don't remember the exact time it started. Because we know the exact time she died. Her time of death is written in the Monokuma file. What time did the music start, and what time is it now? Is that so? That wretched music was certainly irritating. But for someone to succumb and produce such an intense reaction, to what end? Was the music really that motivating? I don't know if it had anything to do with the music. I don't know. The music is suspicious. Everything about it. Is Say still like passed it on the floor? Don't talk to me. Cannon spoke through tightly gritted teeth. She looked disturbed. Was she friends with Pandora? Right, she was, right? Or at least Pandora was pretty friendly with everybody, so... And Cannon was really friendly with nobody. Okay, let's talk to Lyle. Lyle, what are you thinking? If I'm being honest, I don't know. There's not a lot on the scene to dissect. The only thing that caught my eye was that shred of paper in the spa pool, but it's completely ruined. I expected a bit more keen observations from him, but even Lyle was either stumped or too shocked to speak on the matter. Yeah, like, he's a puzzle master. He's not a detective, a crime scene investigator, okay? I admit, this is nothing if not shocking to see. The words were unwavering, but Missy's voice was cracked and disjointed. Yeah, I can't believe it actually happened. It's inconceivable. It's Pandora, nonetheless. She held together quite strongly. I'm certain her spirit would not have been crushed by a game constructed of fear. Alas, there's no use thinking in hopeful hypotheticals now that this has occurred. Yeah. I was shaken at how articulate, even on the subject of death, Missy remained. Okay, none of these have been helpful. No one has said anything useful to me. Is she still passed out on the floor? Say fainted as soon as she entered the spa lounge. Forte was kind enough to situate her in a spare chair off to the side to regain her strength. Girl, she's gonna wake up and see the other dead body and just faint again. Why would you put her in one of the chairs? Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'd just put her on the floor. I'm just like, oh, they probably left her there like they always left Toko there on the floor. Wow, that was helpful. Okay. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. What else is there to investigate? Hello? Can I leave this room? Continue. Did I save a screenshot? Okay. I saved a screenshot apparently. After investigating Pandora's body, I felt an exhaustion like no other. Never in my life did I think I would be experiencing something like this. The weight of the shock and melancholy of it all bore heavily on my shoulders. Is there nothing else we can do? I wonder, did anyone see anything else suspicious on the way over here? We all looked at each other, but no one replied. Everyone was understandably on edge. Of course no one wanted to talk. It appears we've exhausted all avenues of investigation here. Such a lackluster amount of clues doesn't bode well for us. Yes, but if we've done all we can looking into the scene, there's nothing left but to discover Pandora's killer. Of course, that's easier said than done. Yeah, I have absolutely zero clue. Not a clue. I don't know who did this, because none of the clues that we investigated make any sense to me. Where's the murder weapon? Where did it go? Someone check the garbage. I heard Cannon grumbling in the corner. She seemed distressed.
All right. I think I've given you all enough leeway to get yourselves together.
No, you didn't, because I'm such confused. Why? Why did I say such? I'm sorry. It's been a long week.
So, it's time for the class trial. I hope you have enough ammunition to shoot down the culprit.
I don't. I genuinely, there's not enough. We didn't find the murder weapon. Nothing.
If not, then I guess you're all out of luck. There's an elevator on the main foyer that will cruise you all down to the special class trial courtroom. If you do not assemble in the elevator quickly, I'll send out a radio transmission that will release the toxic gas in your bracelets. You want to find out who did it, right?
I'm giving them the Monokuma voice, though I don't know if it's Monokuma.
You don't want your lives to end before you even had a chance to defend yourselves, right? All that and more will be available for your group in the courtroom. Let's get a move on. I'll be seeing you shortly.
Are we actually going to see the person behind the announcements? The announcement went out as quickly as it came. So, this is really happening. The group shifted around anxiously. Well, what are we waiting for? Ashley took the first strides out of the room, but not without giving Pandora one last somber look from the doorway. Forte gently eased Say awake, turning her gaze from the unsightly scene and helping her as she hobbled out. One by one, the others filtered out of the spa lounge. I stood back for a moment to take one last look at Pandora. We all stepped into the large elevator and began the descent into the supposed courtroom. The elevator sailed noiselessly toward our unknown destination for what felt like an eternity. Silently, we stood. No one dared to speak. I had a lump in my throat from the anxiety, the fear, the sadness. My stomach was knotted, my head dizzy, my heart aching. The spa lounge we were meant to investigate came short of any useful clues. We were only able to procure 2 traces of evidence. one fact of which was already stated simply in the victim report, and the other was a secret note that only few were aware of. Nervous was an understatement. I was at a complete loss. Same. I have no idea who did it. Someone who knew about her note, but who else did she tell other than Echo? I don't know. The elevator eventually slid to a standstill, shaking me from my thoughts. Ooh. Nice. Oh, I'm excited to see this fill up. That's morbid. I'm like, yeah, I want to see all the portraits of all the dead classmates hanging up on the wall. The doors opened to reveal our rendezvous point. Oh, there's this word. Rendezvous. This word. I had only ever, there was a point where I had never heard the word out loud and I'd only ever read it. So when I read it out loud for the first time, I called it rendezvous, and everyone looked at me like I was nuts. I don't know how old I was, like probably middle school. Like, what? Like, they're like, what did you just say? You mean rendezvous? How am I supposed to know that's rendezvous? Anyway, side rant over. The spacious dome-shaped room was topped with a glass ceiling, a third of the foundation revealing the sunset sky outside our confines. The walls themselves were barren and simple, a matte navy blue with a rim light illuminating the room. Hanging on the wall across the way was a grim picture frame representing Pandora. Her profile had been crudely stricken with a violent pink X. The picture frame was positioned so that it was looking almost hauntingly over a circular group of podiums. It was a bleak place. To think there was a dedicated location for whatever was about to occur. Just where were we?
Welcome, one and all, to the trial grounds. The stands before you will be the key locale for today's trial. So let's see some hustle, people.
The announcement was much more imposing than in the courtroom, echoing through the room. Echoing through the dome chamber, each reverberation almost pushing us into place. We steadily settled in and stood in silence. At the stands, we were placed in a circular fashion. Our faces, our fears, and our emotions were exposed to one another. The atmosphere, thick with anxiety, was palpable and crushing. I could feel my heavy heart pounding in my head. My palms were sweaty, yet I could feel a dreadful, eerie chill go up my spine. I tried to be strong, but my knees were weak, my breath short. We were here because of one unmistakable fact. Someone killed her. Pandora Spede, the ultimate baker. A gentle, caring person who wanted nothing more than to share her good spirit and delectable treats with the world. I don't know, I was suspicious of her the whole time, so. Ooh, look at this art, beautiful. I'm amazed by the art in this game. Someone here was responsible for her death. And the only thing that kept me standing firm was the drive to figure out who heartlessly ended her life. Hello? A light began to flicker weakly from the center of the circle stance. Hello? Who? What hologram is this? Who are you? You're not Monokuma? The flickering gained strength as a shape began to take form within the light. Something like the shape of a person began to appear. Who are you? Who the heck are you? Hello? Cruella de Vil? Who are you?
Welcome, one and all. Welcome to the courtroom.
Okay. Who the heck are you? Who are you? What is that?
Who am I? What is that? Bah! Answers to those questions don't matter too much. Besides, I think you ought to have more pressing questions since something super bad has transpired. All you really need to know is that I'm your lovely judge for today's trial. Okay, maybe I'm not a real certified judge or whatever, but I will be the one passing judgment on what happens today, and after each subsequent murder to come. Judge but not really a judge is too long and confusing to address me, so you may call me Zero.
Zero? Hello? Is this the Nonary games? Where am I? The hologram of a person named Zero presented itself, giving a face to the voice of our killing game announcer. I don't know if the Monokuma voice really fits with this character, the look of this character, but I'm gonna keep going with it. Because this guy's definitely a Monokuma impersonated. Last trial, all rise. I'm scared. I'm very scared because I don't know what's going on. There's so many, I don't know who did it. I don't have any clues. I got like 2 things.
Without further ado, I take it you all know why you're here.
Like, who is this person? Is this like an outside person who's the mastermind? I'm so confused.
Jeez, you're all a quiet bunch, aren't you? You're all here to suss out who done it. In other words, you're all on trial to figure out who the culprit of today's heinous crime is. Did you think you could just get away with murder and win the prize? Nah, it's not that simple. The rules are as follows. Discuss, discover, and determine who the culprit is among your group. A majority vote will seal the individual's fate and we'll see what happens from there, yeah. One of the few outcomes will occur. Determine and vote incorrectly, and the entire class is executed, with the culprit alone able to walk free and win the ultimate prize. That's the ideal endgame for the culprit. Determine the vote correctly, and the culprit alone will receive proper retribution and perish at the hands of your group decision. Phew, you might just live to see another day. Our victim today is Pandora Espere, the ultimate baker. A sweet young lady who could do nothing wrong. Or could she? Well, people can surprise you. So, with that out of the way, get to talking.
Who exactly are you?
What? You're still asking that even though I introduced myself all nicely? You should have bigger concerns than that.
No, I'm also a bit confused because clearly he's a Monokuma personified type of thing because he's got the split black and white. But I don't know if he is the mastermind or if he's just like a computer program because he's a hologram. I don't know if he's projecting himself from another place or if this is just a computer programmed hologram. I don't know.
Talk about the murder. I can't believe who did it isn't your top priority right now.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Huh? No one wants to talk. Need I remind you your lives are kind of on the line? If none of you start talking, you'll all default to having lost the trial and you'll all be executed. You don't want that, do you?
Executed? What does that mean?
The dictionary definition of execute: to carry out a sentence of death. It's really quite simple. On the one hand, it makes my job easier. I don't have to listen to bad deductions. On the other hand, I'd be terribly bored if this game didn't go past the first chapter. Wahahaha!
There's no, it's wahaha, not poo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Not poo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I can't with the poo-hoo-hoo. Everyone, please. We need to discuss who could have possibly done the unthinkable. As trifling or even irrelevant as something may be. If you have any concerns about the case, speak now. Echo's so tiny. I didn't realize they were so tiny. It's scary. Say, are you okay?
Say, please, don't push yourself.
Yes. Thank you. If he wants us to talk, I'll talk. I'll talk about how scared I am. I just want to go home. I can't get used to anything around here. I don't know any of you people. And then someone gets killed? Say, I understand it's difficult, but discussing our friend's death is necessary to ensure we don't find a similar fate ourselves. At the very least, we can try to remember our last moments with her. That Zero is right. We don't want to go down without a fight, right? Why don't we begin with Pandora's last known whereabouts? The silence in the room was oppressive. A trial to defend ourselves? Why did I need to defend myself if I know for a fact that I would never kill her? Regardless, no one knew where to start. Well then, I shall begin. Last I saw her, we were sharing a quiet breakfast. I can back that. The group is composed of Art, Echo, Missy, Pandora, and myself in the dining hall from about 7:40 a.m. to 10 a.m. How long are you eating breakfast for? Why are you eating breakfast for 2.5 hours? After that, we kinda, went our own way. I went around the mansion with Echo to talk to the others who weren't there at breakfast. Who did we see again, Echo? Art doesn't recall the people we visited after breakfast. Let's see, we met with... Oh boy! Let's see if I can remember this. I don't know if I remember. Canon Forte, Missy, Lyle. Say Canon Forte, Lyle. Say Canon, Lyle, Ashley. We did not meet with Ashley, so we can cross that one off, because Ashley hasn't talked to us in days. I don't think we talked to Canon either. This one? Oh yeah! Those people were Say, Canon, Forte, and Lyle. And we asked them about their talents. That's right. But when we were touring the mansion, we met with those four and no one else. The only ones we didn't see after breakfast were Pandora and Ashley. I mean, we met with Pandora when we were talking to Canon, but she didn't stick around long. She said she had somewhere to be and left to go who knows where. So there's a period of time in which no one saw Pandora last. Is that correct? The person who saw her last is not gonna say, yeah, I saw her last. She came to meet me in the spa lounge. Ooh, excuse me. I'm so sleepy. Okay. That window apparently being somewhere between 10 a.m. to approximately 4 p.m. Can anyone else provide their whereabouts in that approximate time frame? I was alone in the study for a good portion of the afternoon. I went to the theater at about 2:30 p.m. Oh, he must have left just before I went in. I went to the study at 3. I spent my time in my personal room. I wasn't in one place. I was investigating the mansion, until 3, that is. I met up with Art for a little bit and eventually landed in the jazz club right before 4. I was regaling myself with the anemones in the theater for much of the afternoon. I was in my room too. After I had a meal with Art and Echo, I went back and didn't leave at all. I was in the atrium for a while. It looks like no one has a particularly strong alibi except Art and Echo, who can vouch for each other until 3 p.m. Yeah, but that doesn't make any difference. She was killed at 4. She died at 4 p.m., 4:05. What time did the music go on? Is somebody gonna answer me this? What does that mean? It means that since many of us were acting on our own for an extended period of time, our whereabouts can be heavily doubted. Anyone could have lied about their activity and instead set up some sort of trap to get rid of Pandora, since no one saw each other. So we're all suspicious? It's difficult to narrow down who is potentially suspicious in these claims alone. Let's calm down and think thoroughly. Why don't we move the topic to the forced motive question? The question, along with the motivation music, was provided to push someone to commit crime. Sorry, I'm yawning again. We ought to figure out what about the question could have caused such distress. The forced motive question. A small group of us talked about it briefly this morning over breakfast, but ultimately we couldn't figure out the purpose of the question. Why don't we discuss the purpose now that everyone is present? Oh goodness, oh I'm scared, okay. I'm tucked in a blanket, I'm like... The purpose of the forced motive question. The question was, are your talents a true representation of who you are? Who are you beyond your talent? What could it mean? I should pay attention to statements that might sound interesting. A cool question to provoke killing? Yeah, it makes no sense. How could a simple question make us do something that's extreme as ending someone's life? I like that I can click it and it doesn't go automatically. So, and because I'm a slow reader, I'll miss everything. This morning, we speculated that sharing the history behind our talents would only create a great bond between us. If I click this, can I click this? Greater bond? Echo, I believe you led our discussion this morning. You should be well versed in what everyone had to say during the conversation and the consensus we came to. That's right. We all shared our thoughts and agreed nothing we said struck anyone as strange. The purpose of the forced motive question. Okay, so I just had to pick the one that sounds weird, or that sounds like what it could be. Okay, I get it now. I am inclined to agree with that conclusion. It only makes sense after all. But it's also positive that it's a tactic used to instill distrust and cause discord. Okay. Oh, so I thought there was going to be something after it. Okay, I get it. Sorry. The only thing is, I don't know when it ends, so like I want to keep clicking to read it, but I don't know when it ends. I'm so sorry for yawning so much. What do you mean by distrust, Ash? Let's say someone didn't want to talk about their talent, despite the talent being something that's highly lauded. If someone wouldn't want to talk about such an unassuming topic, their resistance should be suspicious, right? Echo's so tiny. Look at that. He's so cute. But just because someone's talent is public knowledge, it doesn't necessarily mean the individual's life and practice behind it should be public as well. Ash, you kept your talent unknown to me for whatever reason. Are you saying you want me to believe you're suspicious? Of course not! How could you even say that? Did you ask someone about the force motive question and get no answer? No? I just didn't want to bother anyone with such a potentially loaded question. Is my talent a true representation of who I am? I never thought about my talent as a representation of me. It's simply a hobby that spiraled into something incredulous. I would never have thought racing would lead me to end up in such a strange mess. I feel like she's the only one who's saying, like, whose personality likely wouldn't be revolved around her talent. Like, yeah, she's a horse girl, but she's the ultimate jockey. She can still be a horse girl and not ride in races. I don't know, Ashley. I'm looking at you. I see you, Ashley. I don't trust you. Sorry to press you so hard, Ash. Art asked me if I knew anything about your talent, and I couldn't properly answer him. That said, I think this conversation eventually proved your point, that it could cause discord. There's contention, even between us. That's right. I'm sorry if keeping it a secret hurt you, Echo. I didn't mean to tie you up in such complications. It's not complicated. You're my friend. If anything hurts, it's the fact that I burdened you with this topic. No, I'd be pretty mad if someone didn't tell me this whole aspect of them, and we were supposedly best friends. I'd be like, what the heck? You don't trust me enough to tell me this? Like, why wouldn't you just say it? I don't know. Like, that, like, I'm sure she's ashamed. Like, ashamed probably isn't the right word, but she just doesn't like her talent. She doesn't care for the title. So I feel like Ashley is the only one out of all of them who's like, yeah, I don't really care much for my talent, and it doesn't represent who I am, because for a lot of them, it does. Let's be honest. Well, that's the purpose of discussion, isn't it? To bring ideas and theories to light? And I don't suppose I just performed an example of the question causing such an altercation. Discussion progress.
Oh, wasn't that something? Best friends reconciling their differences for the sake of proving a point.
Like, I feel like if this character had a voice, it would be something like Monokuma. It was like, I suppose every... But no, I'm doing the Monokuma voice.
I suppose every discussion has to start somewhere. Okay, as you were.
Right. Oh, sorry, what did she say? I missed that. Sorry, I clicked it before I read it. I have a bad habit of doing that. In that case, what if the question posed was meant to make us look at ultimate students' talents as an ends justifies the means product?
Mean Justice Fry served with the what?
Oh my god, like, someone smack him. The end justifies the means. A saying in which a result is deemed so important that any method, morally good or bad, may be used to achieve it. In this case, I believe what Echo is saying is regardless of how someone achieved some advanced talent, or what the person is like behind it is meaningless. What? Am I reading this sentence weird? Can I start that again? What? In this case, I believe what Echo is saying is regardless how someone achieved such advanced talent, or what the person is like behind it, is meaningless in the grand scheme of having an ultimate title. After all, didn't we all sign up for the preservation project, knowing full well that we needed to bear an ultimate title? No, I didn't sign up for this. I'm Echo, and I don't have an ultimate talent. I can't stop yawning. I'm so sorry. An ultimate title. Precariously valuable title anyone receives for super excelling in their field of expertise. But what does this possibly have to do with Pandora getting killed? There's no way one was like jealous of her talent or something, was there? Maybe they're jealous of her people skills and how she's able to make friends with everybody, and they were jealous of that. No, that would be ridiculous. We were all strangers before meeting in this scary place anyway. I fully want to believe. I want to believe we all get along well with her. We all got along with each other, in fact. Without the killing game pressure, I don't see how anyone could possibly harbor any ill will.
Nah, someone has gotta hate her.
What?
What? I'm bored. You aren't talking about anything interesting, so I thought I'd throw you all a bone to get to the ball rolling a little faster. Not one single person is going to be loved by everyone. It's just not possible.
How could you say that? She did nothing but show kindness and warmth toward everyone. Pandora only ever wanted to share good food with good friends. Yes, she always walked tirelessly to bring us together with her delicacies.
Blah.
Oh, good show, everyone. Lyle? Excuse me? What? Hello? You are all such great actors. Who are you? Hello? Hello? Nagito? Is he gonna pull a Nagito switch personality reveal? I guess it's been fun watching, but the discussion isn't going anywhere.
Oh,
I'll just put an end to this now. This case, this trial, it's all an elaborate ARG scheme. Lyle, sweetheart, at this point, that girl is dead. You still think it's an ARG? Bro, someone actually died. Lyle? It's all an act. The reason why there's so few clues? It's just a way to save resources. Imagine if the folks setting up the game had to use a bunch of fake blood to create the scene. Though I suppose for the sake of entertainment, such systems exist to waste resources. Lyle, what are you talking about? Pandora isn't dead. She can't be. Nothing adds up. But I suppose if you want me to keep playing, I'll say this. Let's think about who was on the scene first. Oh yeah, there it is. They're all gonna blame me. If I recall correctly, it was Echo, wasn't it? Yeah? I saw Pandora's body first, and I called for help, which made Cyrus and Cannon arrive shortly after. Okay. Easy. The culprit is one of you three. What? What? On what grounds do you think you can speculate that? Pandora's supposed time of death was 4:05, right? I'll set the scene. We were just minding our own business in the mansion, not knowing what's to come. Soon, some nasty music starts playing. One of you three starts getting stressed out, so you strangle the first person you see. How else could we narrow down the culprit? It has to be someone who was near the scene after 4 p.m., and that person couldn't have gotten far after escaping from the crime scene. In my opinion, a motivation to kill, a la stress from music, is kind of shoddy writing, but at least there was an attempt. Lyle keeps going on about the killing game being an ARG, but her death seems so real. Bro, it was real. Huh? Wait, doesn't that mean everyone's alibis from earlier don't amount to anything? Bingo. I believe you all discussed your whereabouts up to approximately 3 p.m. the latest. But no one said anything from then to 4 p.m. when the music started. Wait, so the music started at 4 p.m. She was dead at 4:05. Someone strangled her within 5 minutes? Yeah, they had to have been close. It's very possible it's Cyrus. The critical moment to consider is the time just before the murder occurred, obviously. If someone offed Pandora via acute strangulation and made their getaway, it's not likely the culprit would have gotten far from then, and Echo supposedly discovered the body. So, with the window of action narrowed down between 4 and 4:05, does anyone care to share their newly updated whereabouts? Okay, here we go. Where we all were in the approximate time around 4 p.m., leading up to the motivational music. If we follow through with Lyle's speculation, we must glean some information that will help us. After hanging out with Lyle, I went to the atrium. Music was blasting in there. Missy joined me in the theater after the music started. I thought Forte and I could go backstage and control the sound system, but our attempts were futile. I was in my room still, hiding under the covers. I told you, I was in the foyer leading up to the music room. It was noisy, sure, but nothing I couldn't deal with. I was in the jazz club. Were you? I told Echo earlier as well. I was in the climbing center and saw no one suspicious dart past the open door. Like say, I was in my room too. Ooh, who do I refute? Cyrus? I'm suspicious of him now. I really am. Okay, I'm gonna try... Did I accidentally do the... Oh yeah, I did the wrong one, sorry. I'm gonna do... I did it again! Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna do Cyrus. Why did you leave the door open in the first place? I left it open just in case anyone else wanted to join me. That's it? Oh, sorry. That's it? Is that reasoning so unbelievable? I guess not. Okay, so it's not him. Is it Mr. Jazz Club? Oh yeah, it is Jazz Club because literally Art just said, Lyle and I went to the atrium. So Jazz Club, he's lying. Alright, I just caught that. Wait a minute, Lyle. I know for a fact that the Jazz Club is soundproof. Oh, that's how you came to that conclusion? I just said, Art literally said he and Lyle went to the atrium, not the jazz club. That's right. When I attempted to play the cello yesterday, you and Cyrus were just outside the jazz club in the hallway. Neither of you seemed to have any reaction when we came out shortly after. That means it's possible that Lyle is exempt from hearing the motivational music. Does it? Ah, I suppose you're onto something. I admit, I don't even know what the motivational music sounds like, but... But nothing. That's an awfully precarious situation you've put yourself in, Lyle. Sure, it's odd. But what's stranger still is how did Lyle know about the motivational music if he never heard it? The kiosks. Remember? They translate sound into text. But this time, I saw only a message. It said something like, preserving the atmosphere of the room. What? 0.
What's up?
You are the judge of this trial, but you are also the announcement operator outside these walls. I assume you can assist us with something clerical like this. Can you tell us what the kiosk message said in specific?
Your current room is a special room that blocks all outside sound to preserve the atmosphere of the room. Please enjoy to your heart's content. I didn't write that, by the way.
So, you're saying we could have avoided the noise entirely?
Isn't that too convenient? Wait a minute. In that case, what if Lyle is the one who killed Pandora?
What? Didn't I just say that it was the music that would have provoked someone to kill her? I was in the jazz club. I didn't even hear music. Therefore, I wouldn't have felt the motivation to move. No! You could have killed her in the jazz club and moved her body to the spa lounge. That would explain the lack of clues in the spa lounge. This is troublesome. Did any of us investigate the jazz club afterwards? No. I was so shocked from seeing the body that I didn't even think about looking elsewhere. I think we were all just astonished as soon as we heard the body discovery chime. So perhaps Lyle counted on that fact, and did in fact kill her in the jazz club. He doesn't have an alibi for a large portion of the afternoon anyway. Saying something like scouring the mansion for clues. Could have spent the whole day unsupervised, plotting terrible things that ended Pandora's life. Hey! Haven't you heard the phrase extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence?
Well, that's not out of the question. After all, the ultimate puzzle master could have set up something elaborate. So elaborate that the answer to this murder puzzle was right over our heads.
That can't be possible. I was in the climbing center, which is between the spa lounge and the club. If Lyle committed the crime in the jazz lounge, I would have been plainly witness to the change of scene. You very well could have been constructed that alibi to assist Lyle in his dark activity. Now why on earth would I lie about such a thing? Settle down! Yelling at each other with hypotheticals isn't getting us anywhere. Agreed. It will quell Say and Forte's worries. Let's tackle their initial theory and go from there. Say and Forte are wrapped up in the possibility of Lyle killing. What? Say and Forte are wrapped up in the possibility of Lyle killing Pandora in the jazz club. Is it worth discussing? I mean, why not? Just to be safe. We shouldn't leave anything to doubt. If Lyle isn't the culprit, then he shouldn't have any problems clearing the air. Are you kidding me? Fine. What would be my motive for killing her? I didn't hear the motivational music, so that's out of the question. And I didn't speak to her about the forced motive question, since I haven't seen her all afternoon. So tell me, based on my lack of time around Pandora, do I even have the clear reason to get rid of her?
Oh my stars, you are all so bad at this.
What?
I'll tell you all for certain that nothing happened in the jazz club. Huh? And I'm telling you this because you are all wonderful at this.
Did I just say wonderful?
You are all awful at this whole trial thing.
Huh.
Jeez. I guess this is what happens when there's no ultimate detective around, huh?
We need Kirigiri. We need her.
And your ultimate photographer is so quiet. She's all but dropped dead at this point.
Listen, she said before, Canon likes to take candid shots of people. I wonder if we could go through her camera and see what pictures she has. She may thought this possible.
If she did drop dead, you'd have to go through another trial. And I don't think I have the patience to watch you run in circles at this rate. All right, since this is clearly going nowhere, allow me to throw you a bone. There's something strange about the note in the spa pool, don't you think? Lyle very conveniently managed to redirect the conversation from a piece of evidence on the... I'll let you all think for yourselves.
The note. The note must have something to do with Pandora's murder. But what? No, I don't know, something suspicious. Like they threw it into the pool hoping that it would get destroyed. And I mean, I guess it did, but it didn't destroy enough. Probably because they were running out of time to set up. What did I just say? Running out of time to set up? What? I think I need to go to sleep. I'm sorry, what did just... I apologize. I'm certain Art and Lyle know something about it. Lyle brought it up with us, but...
Hello? What's with all the dead air? Don't want to talk anymore? You don't want anyone to die without giving the trial your best shot, do you? Like, are any of you even trying to save yourselves? Maybe I should stop giving you these opportunities.
Courtroom fell silent. It seems we all neglected the gravity of the situation. Or rather, we were avoiding it. It's just, nothing felt real. Pandora's death, her body hardly showed any signs of injury. It was like she was asleep. It was as if we all wanted to forget the reality of the topic at hand, which was that someone had killed our friend. We kept dodging and darting around the main issue. Yes, as painful as it is, we must discuss the murder. It may seem hopeless at the moment, since we don't have much information to work with, but clues will reveal themselves as we bring about certain topics to light. I don't know why I'm so tired. It's not even that late right now. I think I fell asleep for a second there. I think that's why I was talking randomly. I'm like, I don't know. I'm so sorry. So, don't hold your tongue. We must do this to save ourselves. Then, I'll start with her cause of death. From there, it'll probably be easier to reason out potential culprits. According to the Monokuma file, it was strangulation. And we identify what she was strangled with. No, because I didn't see a murder weapon. There was nothing on the scene. I wonder if they still have it. Whoever did it. I don't know who did it. I genuinely still not a clue. We ought to touch upon the possibilities. It may be difficult to think about, but no one said such a fight would be easy. Okay, here we go. Just what was Pandora strangled with? Is there something we're missing? I was thinking it might have been rope from the climbing center. It's horrifying to think about, but perhaps the culprit used their own hand. No. Let's narrow down our thoughts and eliminate things that would be unlikely. We also ought to think about what in the spa lounge could be used. Okay. Am I disagreeing or am I agreeing? Just, what was Pandora strangled? Something. No. Their bare hands, too cruel. Wait, Miss. You think about it though, if someone was grasping tight, don't you think there would be fingernail marks dug into the skin? Oh, so I have to agree. I yield that you could be right. There weren't any signs of such brutality. I wouldn't easily forget something as violent as nails being dug into the skin. If that helps clarify the possibility. I suppose. I'm relieved to hear that. Okay. Rope. Okay, so I'm agreeing. I can't tell if I have to agree or disagree. What in the spa lounge could be used? If we consider the following. The climbing center and jazz club were occupied by one person each. Neither of the occupants saw anyone else during their stay. And the killing occurred soon after the 4 p.m. music. So it's likely the culprit could have only used whatever was available on location. They were with Pandora in the spa lounge already. I'm pretty sure they were with her when the music started playing. And they couldn't stand the sound. So they killed her to make it stop. Seems kind of silly, but okay. What, if anything, could be used? I don't know. What is the murder weapon? Is it her hair tie? No, because then it wouldn't still be in her hair. Is it her apron? The murder weapon is on her person. The towel? Oh, that makes sense. See, the mark is so thick here on her neck. Could it be? Echo, are you onto something? I think so. You brought up a good line of thought that made me rethink the scenario. I recall seeing something that might answer our questions. I believe the culprit may have used a towel to strangle her. It's an unassuming object, isn't it? Of course there are going to be towels in the spa lounge. So the culprit took advantage of the location and utilized the tools available. The tool being the very towel she was resting her head on. Then they must have strangled her by wrapping the towel around her neck and pulling until she stopped struggling. Until she stopped struggling and breathing altogether. It would explain the lack of fingernails dug in, as well as explain why I didn't see anyone near the climbing center in the event a rope was used. I might just be conjecture, but it's the best thing we have so far. But there's something bothering me, if I may. What I don't get is, why was Pandora seemingly so relaxed in the spa? She was reclined, and there weren't any signs of a struggle in the whole room. Because she was there with that person. They were friends. They were hanging out together. I don't know what they were doing, but... There must have been the obnoxious music playing in the spa too, so I doubt she would have stayed. That is strange indeed. I certainly couldn't concentrate on the climbing grips once it started. That music was like so annoying. I didn't know it was playing until I was outside.
More importantly, Echo, did you bonk your head or something? The spa lounge is soundproof.
Huh? Well, I guess that makes sense, since I threw the door open upon entering. Hang on, what? The lounge is soundproof? Wait, that changes things. See, because I always thought, I thought 5 minutes. I don't think that's long enough to properly strangle someone. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like that's enough time for someone to die. Even if the person does have a strong grip, they're still using like a towel. I don't know. I'm wondering if they plan to kill her all along. Because remember, she did say that she had somewhere she needed to be. I wonder if it was like a premeditated thing. But then what was the point of the music? I don't get it. Why would they even turn the music on if a murder was already happening at the time it went on? Ow, I hit my hand.
Whoops. Was that not common knowledge?
Hold it. Explain yourself. Does that have any relevance to the trial? If the spa lounge is soundproof, and the motivational music was playing through the rest of the mansion, whoever was in the spa lounge with Pandora must not have been aware of the music. 0. I noticed in your kiosk message you didn't specify which room was soundproof. It simply said your current room is a special room. Is that correct?
I said I didn't write that. But I guess I did say that, didn't it? Fine. Yes. All second floor rooms are soundproof. Happy.
All second floor rooms? In that case, wouldn't Pandora have been completely relaxed and unaware of the motivational music when it started at 4 p.m.? Wait, that's right.
Well, not the atrium, but it's more of a giant hall than a room. No closed doors or anything, you know.
I wasn't aware. I left the climbing center's doors open during my stay. So it's not just the jazz club. We probably assumed the jazz club alone was soundproof because people perform in there. Now, it has been revealed that Pandora was willingly in the spa lounge, relaxed and completely unaware of the music, presumably far before it started playing in the first place. And even when it did begin, she would have been undisturbed by it, due to the soundproof quality of the spa lounge. Just a minute. That means the motivational music had nothing to do with provoking someone to kill her. What? Echo, you have an idea of what provoked the person, don't you? My phone is ringing. Sorry. You probably can't hear it, but it is ringing right next to me. You've had this look on your face since this afternoon. It's the note, isn't it? You've seen it before. In fact, you saw it before I brought it up with you and Art. Finally talking about the note. Yes, I've seen it before. Pandora herself showed it to me last night. Pandora? How did she see it? Lyle said it was the announcement's special gift from this morning.
I lied about that. There was no special gift. If someone did show up, I was going to call them a chump personally.
Wow.
I'm actually also perplexed as to where that came from. Although, maybe I shouldn't complain. The note has made things very interesting. Ha 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 ha! I missed the poo hoo hoo hoo. Hoo hoo.
What is this note you're talking about? Remember, that scrap of paper we saw in the spa pool. Yes, it was soaked beyond legibility. That's the note we're talking about. Namely, a note to be kept in secrecy. I remember it said, "If you recognize one of the symbols depicted, then you have finally found me and are safe. Please do not speak of this note's existence. Trust no one but yourself." It had 2 emblems on it, as the note references, and I saw some of those emblems on that shred of wet paper in the spa pool. Pandora was in possession of such a dangerous, suspicious thing. The culprit must have seen that she had the note on hand and threw it in the pool to soak and destroy it. They were probably afraid of the ramifications of protecting the recipient and what effect it would have on the rest of us in the killing game. They probably thought that whoever is in possession of the note must be linked to the game itself. And wouldn't the culprit be one of the few who knew of the note's existence? That's right. She reacted when Zero first mentioned it. Say, you reacted when Zero mentioned the note earlier. Have you seen the note before? Was it... Girl, was it you?
I have never seen it.
I see. She's lying. She's lying. Pandora showed her too. But how could that be? Lyle said he saw Say go into the pantry and, after she left, he saw the note. Before this trial, the only ones who could have seen it were Say, Lyle, Echo, and me, right? If the atrium's special gift was a lie, then what's with the secret note being in the pantry earlier this afternoon? I imagine Pandora herself must have left it there, seeing as she was utilizing the ingredients from the pantry to make breakfast this morning. She just left it there? Then why is there a similar note in the spa's pool? She couldn't have left it out of her possession if it's supposedly a note to be kept in secrecy. Wait a minute. Then are there 2 notes? But we still don't know where those notes came from in the first place.
Ah! None of these random details are making any sense.
I'm also having a hard time sorting out relevant information. Indeed. It's becoming difficult to define what is truth, what happened when, and why things are the way they are. Can't we try to lay down a timeline of events? That could clear our heads and straighten things out, if anything. Timeline of events. Yes, I think that could help. I noticed a handful of discrepancies that could use clearing up. What is this? Perhaps I ought to take the events back to last night, when Pandora showed me the secret note. The note seems to be the biggest complication. Pandora pulled me aside to show me the secret note at... I don't remember! Was it nighttime? This is a problem. I don't remember. I don't remember. 10? That's it. Okay. I guessed. Yes, it was 10 p.m. I remember the lights started to dim during our conversation, indicating the start of nighttime. The following morning, which was earlier today, we can assume Pandora must have been up earlier than everyone else and began preparing breakfast for us. A small group of us had breakfast and conversed about the forced motive question, which rang in at... No? Sorry. Excuse me. I don't know. That's right. The forced motive question announcement rang in at 9 a.m. We briefly touched the topic, but ultimately didn't feel any motivation to conduct any sort of killing, likely to the chagrin of the announcer. Afterwards, I had planned to go back to my room, but Art stopped me, and we went around asking the other students about the question. We were occupied with asking until around 3 p.m. I remember that, because they've been talking about it this whole time. But just before 3, Art and I ran into Lyle as he was going into his room. We talked to him a little bit about the question, but he had little to say about the matter. During our conversation, he brought to our attention the secret note, the same secret note Pandora had the night before. Lyle claimed that someone had left the secret note in the pantry. That's right. And the person who was last in the pantry before him was... Pandora? Sure, she was in the pantry this morning, but Lyle didn't see her at the time in the question. Say? That's it. Lyle claims he saw Say scurry from the second floor atrium to the pantry and back out again. After Lyle showed us the disarmed door and the secret note, Art and Lyle went off on their own, and I went to the study at 3 p.m. While I was in the study, another announcement rang in and started playing some sort of jarring motivational music that once again attempted to start the killing. The motivational music began at 4. That's right. I recall the announcer saying the time. I ran out of the study in a panic, trying to find any of the other students. From the atrium, I saw a shadowy figure at the top of the stairs. I followed them, but lost track of them, which instead led me to discover Pandora's body. If only I was able to keep up with the shadowy figure, perhaps this trial would have been over sooner. But it's strange. I couldn't seem to add anything up despite how much we knew. Or rather, perhaps there was some other unforeseen force factored in that contributed to Pandora getting killed. There had to be something. Something missing. I felt an uneasy anticipation tugging at me. Something willing me to continue the pursuit of whatever force caused this mess. I had to try. Uncovering the truth was more difficult than I thought, but Pandora... would tell me not to give up. I had to try to narrow down where the strange factor's weak point was. I thought about the scenario from the starting point of when the note was revealed, since it was a topic of contention. Perhaps I ought to think backwards from Pandora's death to see if there are any holes. Pandora was killed in the spa lounge. True. Yes, there weren't any signs of her body being moved. Before she was killed, what was Pandora's speculated state in the spa lounge? Relaxed. We are able to assume she was relaxed in the spa lounge because the lounge is soundproof. We learned the spa lounge has soundproof qualities. If Pandora was in there with the door closed, she would likely not have been disturbed. Wait a minute. When I first entered the spa lounge, I was initially under the impression that there was more motivational music playing within. Little did I know, it was only playing because I had thrown the door open, ruining the soundproof quality of the room. However, someone noted that they were unaware of the music until they moved up from one area to the next. The fact is, the climbing center and jazz club were already occupied, and neither Cyrus nor Lyle claimed they were with company. This person could have left the only remaining room that shared the soundproof quality of the other two. Why was Pandora seemingly so relaxed in the spa? She was reclined, and there weren't any signs of a struggle in the whole room. There must have been the obnoxious music playing in the spa too, so I doubt she would have stayed. That's strange indeed. I certainly wouldn't concentrate on the climbing grips once it started. The music was like so annoying. I didn't know it was playing till I was outside.
More importantly, Echo, did you bonk your head or something? The spa lounge is soundproof.
There it is. Who was behind the spa lounge and motivational music discrepancy? Zero? Zero himself was the one who brought up the fact that the spa lounge is soundproof. Who was... Oh, I got it wrong, sorry. Who was behind the spa lounge and motivational music discrepancy? By making a remark of the change between locations, the culprit could have only been in the spa lounge before the motivational music. Bro, is it art? Dude, no way. By that logic, the culprit must have shared the room with the victim. Yeah, I figured that. Art must have been in the spa lounge with Pandora before she died. Oh, because he was the one who mentioned that he didn't hear it. Wait. He mentioned that he didn't hear it until he left a room, until he got into the hallway or something. Like, he said something weird. Cyrus had the door open, so he heard it in the climbing area. Lyle... I don't remember what Lyle did. Is it art? Bro. Everyone, I think I have the full picture.
What was with you? You were totally spaced out for a second.
Be quiet, you.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Echo, was there something we were missing? Yeah. I think something might have slipped right under us. We've been looking at this under the guise that the motivational music had everything to do with the murder. However, there is a discrepancy in that thinking. Pandora was never exposed to it, yet she wound up victim to the effects of it. As we discussed and discovered, all second-floor rooms are soundproof from outside noise when the door is closed. Case in point, Cyrus leaving the climbing center doors open and Lyle undisturbed in the jazz club. But then I noticed someone said something strange. They mentioned they weren't aware of the music either. That is, until they exited a presumably soundproof room. Neither Cyrus nor Lyle ever encountered anyone during their stay. So by process of elimination, the only room this person could have exited would be the spa lounge. I don't know if anyone else picked up on it, but I think I know who the culprit is. Bro, it's Art? No way. Why? I wasn't suspecting him at all. Like, I thought, you know, maybe I thought it was... Sorry, excuse me. I thought it was gonna be Say. Maybe Lyle, but he's kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And he thinks it's all a game, so I doubt it would be him. Is it Art? Is it really? Art? Art? Did you kill Pandora? Art? Whoa, hang on. That can't be. Please, yield. Echo, this thought of yours. It's awfully bold of you to point the finger at someone so conclusively. Well, it's only a shred of an idea, but it's the only piece that fits. If we put the timeline together beginning from when Art and I separated at 3 p.m., it's not unreasonable to assume that this crime was conducted during a smaller window, after Art and Lyle separated, and before the motivational music. It's been stated several times that What? You're all just gonna listen to that tiny, impossible statement? Art, say something. Don't let them tell you what's what. It's nonsense. What? In fact, he was with me in the jazz club until 4 p.m. Yeah, isn't that right? Lyle, you know that we are beyond the veil of smoke and mirrors at this point. What are you implying? It's far too late for you to defend him. If you two were together, it would have been mentioned ages ago. Ooh. Oh no. That shadow I saw at the top of the stairs. It must have been Art, fleeing the spa lounge toward the atrium. He must not have known there was a distressing music playing outside the spa. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let slip that he noticed a shift in music when leaving the spa after the fact. Lyle, please, think about the events in your head. As much as I hate to admit it, there's only one answer I can think of. Even though this is all speculative, and I want nothing more than not to believe it, this is the only ammunition we have. Art, we're your friends, aren't we? Oh my god, he really did do it. Art, why? Please, if we're wrong, just tell us we're wrong. If this is all untrue, we can put this debacle behind us. It's not a lie, it's true. Echo, do you remember what I told you when you asked me about the forced motive question? Yeah. I recall you said you like playing golf, but you haven't expanded your interests outside golfing. Yeah. It's because they would never let me. It's a terrible existence. Being the ultimate golfer for them. Art! All day, I stand around in the sun, listening to jerks pitch false interest and crummy business ideas to each other. I'm not playing golf. I'm just there to look good while the suits are off playing corporate deception and back scratching. They made me hate golf. So that motive question, it made me think about what I was doing. I wasn't having fun anymore, you know? Even though I'm great at it. I'm the ultimate golfer. Even if that's the case, I didn't feel like me anymore. It's weird. I've had more fun here hanging out with everyone, not indulging in my talent. Even though it's the thing that landed me here in the first place. I kept thinking about that. Kept thinking about the FMQ. About how I hate this part of me that blessed me with an opportunity to hang out with all of you fun people. Before I knew it, I wandered into the spa lounge for some peace and quiet. I thought no one was in there. But Pandora was there, quiet as a mouse. I didn't even notice her until I sat right next to her. She was so nice.
Then why?
Oh, good afternoon, Art. Care to join me?
Sure thing.
Are you alright? I didn't scare you, did I?
No. I just, didn't notice you when I came in. You know how it is. Head somewhere else and all.
I see.
Oh, look at them. Why, Art? Why did you do that?
Art, may I ask something?
What's up?
I believe I heard about you influencing a merger between yours and Lyle's school. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
That's such an amazing accomplishment. I can only wish to achieve something half as grand as that.
Oh, it's nothing. I hardly remember it.
I'm sorry, this voice kills my throat.
If you insist. It's nothing to squeeze at either. I'm sure the students of both schools have benefited greatly from the feat.
Yeah, probably. But I wouldn't know. I only went to school for a year before I was pulled out to focus on golfing. I have a private tutor to cover the difference.
Oh, well, that's quite a generous offer. I hope you can use your talents and position to help more people.
I don't know if it's that big of a deal.
I have faith in you, Art. In fact, I believe all of us have the ability to induce beneficial change like that if we're given the opportunity. Ultimate students, we have the power of passion and influence in our hands, just like them.
Them who? Who's them?
I hope we all use it for good in the future. I know we will. Yes, at last, I finally found them.
Who's she talking about? Who's them?
I didn't know what to say. Power of passion? Influencing change isn't as rosy as she chalks it up to be. The only thing that my talent ever got me was trapped. I used to golf all the time with my grandfather before he passed away. After that, I was taken in by some company who could take care of me. 3 square meals and a comfortable place to live. I always played perfect games. Perfect but boring. Day in and day out, it was the same thing. I thought I was there to show my skill, but every game was just an outside business conference. Eventually, I honed my skills enough to hit a hole-in-one no matter what. I played short games no one would ever care to watch. But I ace it and they love it. I whiff it and they eat it up. At that point, they don't even care what I did. Using my talent for good in the future? What about my future? I didn't want to stay with that group for the rest of my life. I thought escaping from the preservation project would finally free me from that imprisonment. But everything's all messed up. When Pandora closed her eyes, I felt a burning. She said she found them. Who was she talking about? It's obvious, right? I don't know what to say. I just took the note she had and threw it in the pool. I wanted to go away. Then everything happened in slow motion. It was like my body had moved on its own. My head was ringing, my hands narrowed onto the towel and on her shoulders, and everything was red. It was like there was a fire in my head. When I heard her gasp, my arms were tense, and eventually, I need water, oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lyle. I was just trying to have fun with you earlier. Huh? My good-for-nothing talent made me despise golf. I've never had fun with it since my people discovered they could use me for their business deals. Running around with you, figuring out a puzzle, was the most genuine fun I've had in a while. Thanks, Lyle. What the? No way, no way. This isn't real. You're just a part of the fake game, right? You didn't kill anyone. Oh, Lyle is about to get a reality check. He's about to be traumatized. You're an actor! Sorry, that was Lyle, not Art. I did the Art voice. Tell me you're an actor and that the whole story was a fake. Art, tell me this isn't real. It was miserable. Like all of us, Lyle was struggling to come to terms with the fact that Art, of all people... Lyle... Is this the truth? We have a shred of evidence to go with the confession. I don't know if I can point out a culprit based on such little proof. Missy, you want to keep discussing even after his piteous confession? I'm able to have my doubts, am I not? I can't accept it. And I'm sure the rest of you are also having trouble just the same. Doubting is the only thing keeping me from fully realizing the weight of a lofty, impossible to swallow truth. If I can doubt, I can still cling to the possibility of Art not committing such a horrible crime. Missy, you're deluding yourself with a false hope. Just like the unfortunately misguided Lyle. Such thinking is unsustainable. There's no need for doubt. And I have definitive proof. Oh. Cannon! It was small, but it was unmistakable. Art was seated at the base of the atrium's centerpiece globe, with his head in his hands. The photo looked to be shot from the second floor entryway. That means the shadowy figure I saw was... that was me, following Art as he fled from the spa lounge. Huh? I was in the foyer, remember? So when I saw Art emerge from the spa lounge, I went to tail him, following him as far as the entrance to the atrium. Then I heard you shout for help and did an about-face. Little did I know, I would stumble upon the very thing he was running from.
What the heck is this? Cannon sure is a weird photographer.
So, does that settle your doubt, Missy? Oh, he did do it. Like, he was just, I guess, blinded by rage. It's kind of like a similar situation to, when Chihiro was killed. And Mondo was like... he was overtaken by frustration and anger and, like, in a way, jealousy that Chihiro was trying to better himself, whereas he was kind of stuck. He was kind of... it's kind of similar to that, I guess. But why wait to reveal such damning evidence? She doesn't want to deal with this. That's why she... I think she just doesn't want to deal with it. You think I want his blood on my hands? If I presented this photograph, we'd know the culprit for certain. Thanks to me. Because I'm always unlucky enough to be in the wrong place at the right time. I don't want to bear that weight on my conscience. I know it's selfish, but take it or leave it. Then, I suppose it's settled. If we can agree this is unquestionably the truth, there's no room for doubt.
It seems you've all come to a consensus. In that case, it's voting time. This is the final phase of the class trial. Vote for who you think is the culprit. After all that jabbering, you'd better have a solid answer. Don't let any of that sentimental doubt or faith or whatever keep you from saving yourselves. It's voting time.
Oh, I have to... Look at this beautiful art. Look at it. Like, look how stunning this is. Oh. Sorry, art. Sorry.
And we have a winner. The culprit responsible for the murder of Pandora Espere is none other than the ultimate golfer Arturo Campopiano. Oof, took long enough. Let's try to do better next time, alright. But for now, it's time for the grand finale. You've reached your exciting destination at the end of your first class trial. That destination being punishment time.
Oh, I'm scared. Punishment time?
Well, yeah, eye for an eye, right? He was caught. Too bad. Recap rule number 5. To expedite the process toward the ultimate prize, one must kill a fellow student without getting caught. Oh, but what happens when they do get caught? Recap trial rules. Determine and vote correctly, and the culprit alone will receive proper retribution and perish at the hands of your group decision.
See, like, look at how that's worded. It's worded in such a manipulative way that it makes it seem like they're all the ones, everyone else who's part of the game doing this trial, they're the ones responsible for killing him, not Zero or the mastermind. It's like, at the hands of your group decision. Like, the mastermind Zero's like, well, I'm doing the killing, but it's your fault that he's dying. You know, that's like some major manipulation tactic going on right there.
It's bizarre. If it weren't for Echo's conveniently specific memory and Cannon's terrible luck, pulling her to witness him, Art might have gotten away. Do you have anything to say for yourself, Arturo Campopiano?
This is what the Preservation Project wanted, isn't it? To kill and live on. To prove your strength above other ultimates.
What? You think you're going to live on? Whoops. You clearly don't have the emotional constitution to carry the people's future.
What? No.
You let your fears and anxiety eat at you until you broke.
Stop.
Why, I'm shocked Pandora didn't live.
Please.
She lost to you, a weak, vulnerable, pathetic.
I couldn't bear to hear anymore. That's enough. A silvery voice rose from somewhere in the room. That voice, it was The other announcer. The voice that welcomed us to this place was here? What, there's two? What's happening? Zero, stop this at once.
Oh, you. I believe I got rid of you. But you still come back. So weird. See what I did there? Eve.
Eve. These students revealed the culprit. Was that not sufficiently entertaining enough for you?
Yeah, they sure do their thing. But geez, did it take a while. Alright, fine. His face was just so rich with despair. I couldn't help it. It was fun for you too, right?
Are there two masterminds? Is this like like an angel on one side and a devil on the other? Two masterminds? Stop this.
Fine, fine. Always nagging me. I'll get on with it. Goodbye, Arturo Campopiano, the ultimate golfer. Your execution awaits. And so it goes.
Zero's hologram warped out, and a huge rumbling sound tore through the room. Something was coming. Oh. The courtroom floor rumbled beneath us. One of the trial grounds walls slid open, revealing a dark pit beyond the walls. From within, a golf cart came shrieking out, drifting and encircling our stands to stop squarely behind Art. Mechanized arms swept Art off his feet, pulling him into the cart that had hardly stopped for a second before peeling back into the darkness it had come from. Art became sequestered from us. All we could do was watch in horror as his fate was projected on a screen in the middle of the trial grounds. Art was tossed unceremoniously onto what appeared to be a sand bunker in the middle of a giant miniature golf course. In a daze, he rose coughing up sand and meeting the gaze of a Kitsch bear statue holding a raised driver. The bear twitched, its metal body groaned wearily as the arm shook to life. A swing tunneled through the air. Art gasped. Toro Campiano, ultimate golfer, execution by extreme hazard. That's it? Listen, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been praising the art for so long and I was really looking forward to like a bit of like, even if it's not animated, but like more of like a slideshow stop motion kind of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the text. I'm a writer. I like to write. I deal mostly with words and not images. But like, I think because I've been praising the art and there's been so much beautiful art, I'm kind of surprised that the execution wasn't more. I'm a little disappointed. Just a little bit. It was also a little bit lackluster for a first execution. I'm not gonna lie. Even Pandora's death was a little lackluster. I'm not so sure how I feel about it. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna continue on playing the game and hope it gets better. But I was very shocked that the execution was like that. Like even if they don't do animation, I did see a little bit of animation there when they had Zero clapping his hands. Like they can, but even so, they could draw the images and do like a stop motion kind of thing and add like sound effects or something. I don't know. I was kind of hoping for something bigger. Honestly, I was hoping that we would get to see the chain clamp around his neck like we always see the first one, and then he gets dragged out and it's all this dramatic stuff. I'm a little disappointed. I don't know. Let me know what you all think about the style of the execution that was done. Like, don't get me wrong, I love descriptive words and things. I guess I'm used to seeing it in all of these games. Fangans included. Like not just like the main series games that have like big budgets and whatnot. I've seen it in the fangans as well. I don't know. I'm a little, it's a bit lackluster. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wahaha! Phew, that was worth the wait, I think. And it's funny. He hated golf. But little did he know, all those business deals he sat in on, those deals were the ones that brought in funding for the preservation project. The very thing he wanted to escape to. He thought he could fly away, but it turns out that his influence was unsusceptible.
Unescapable.
Life sure is cruel, isn't it?
It was horrifying. A disgusting display, mocking art's ultimate title, ended his life. He hated his talent and his last moments. And in his last moments, it was all he saw. We all stood completely and utterly shocked. No one said a word. No one moved a muscle. An unmistakable sinking feeling froze us over. Despair.
In return for entertaining me, how about I answer one question that's been drilling into your minds?
Where are we? This isn't the preservation project at all, is it?
Oh, I said one question only. Our beloved courtroom resides in the Monokuma superstructure. Remember those earthquakes? Those aren't going to bother us thanks to civil engineering. The wonders of modern technology never cease, huh? So cool. I hope that satisfied your curiosity.
Most certainly did not, you cat. Zero. Silvery voice spoke once more. You are a reaper of despair. Whatever you do ends in futility and provides no benefit to anyone. No benefit to anyone except you and your horrible Schadenfreude. Is that a German word? Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. I'm sorry, I'm butchering everything. I apologize deeply. Do not think for a moment you've won. I will continue to fight back, even after what you've done to me. A sliver of light remains. Echo Pine. Huh? You received the title of Ultimate Memory.
Memory? What is that?
I wish I could say I'm surprised to see that's what it is, but I did, there was a bit of a spoiler that I read regarding what? Echo's ultimate was told to me. Yeah. But I mean, I guess it makes sense because they were really able to remember like little details. I don't know. I'm not sure of their ultimate status when it comes to their memory, but we'll see, I guess. Because sometimes they do some ridiculous things like, hello, where have you been? I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
We have a tactician, photographer, and silly puzzle maker. Good memory for their skills is already required, wouldn't you think? I wouldn't even humor you with this one. talent isn't even comparable to something remotely useful. Ultimate analytical prowess is that like that one pathetic girl. Come on. You've really given up trying, haven't you? It's no fun having any competition. Fine. You think that will give these people hope? NP6, your queen is in trouble. I have a little information neither you nor the students will like. Cyrus is someone to be wary of.
Ooh. Oh, Cyrus. What did you do, Cyrus? I don't... yeah. I was a little suspicious of him throughout this trial too, so I'd say I'm not super surprised, but I wonder if he... I don't know. Because he's the ultimate charisma. He can kind of tailor people the way that he wants to, and they'll follow him like a bunch of puppies.
He isn't who he says he is. He's not a normal ultimate student like the rest of you. He's much more involved in this game than you think. Ultimate charisma is a terrible cover talent. You are all truly clueless if you believed that.
Zero, stop. You've meddled enough.
What, and you haven't? I've been given this power for a reason, you know, and I'm going to use it as I please.
This isn't the answer.
Whatever. Courtroom is closed. These losers can marinate in despair for a night, but tomorrow we'll get it going again.
Zero.
Shut up. I'm tired of your poor, useless attempt at creating hope. You will never win. You're a failure.
So there's two masterminds, and Cyrus is suspicious. Oh, Cyrus, what did you do? With that odd display, the two holograms cut out. What? What just happened? I was on the verge of tears. My whole body shook violently. There was a weight at the bottom of my heart, dragging my whole body down. I feel like my head was going to split. Becoming trapped in a strange luxury mansion where I seemingly didn't belong. Stuck with a group of revered students with so-called ultimate talent. Getting involved in this class trial where we had to investigate someone killing someone else. Concluding with gruesome execution, as if everything else wasn't enough. Why was this happening? I want to go to bed. Me too! For a long time. Oh boy. Before I knew it, my limp body dove to the floor and I keeled over. My heavy eyes closed wearily, and I allowed myself to sink into the velvety darkness. Oh boy. Alright, I'm going to end this part here. And I'm going to... not log, what am I doing? I'm going to save the game. And I will start the next, chapter 2 in the next video. But anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the class trial. I did too, though. I've had a long week and I fell asleep a little bit while I was talking, so it might have made no sense at one point, but it's okay. We'll ignore it. We'll pretend that didn't happen because it's embarrassing. Okay. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts about this this chapter as a whole, the victim, the culprit, the execution, all of it, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I don't know if it was very strong as a first, you know, victim culprit situation. It seemed kind of out of left field in a way. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it. I'm hoping that, you know, maybe it'll get a bit more crazy in chapter 2 because now it's a bit different. Like, hopefully it's not like something ridiculous again, but yeah. That is the end of this episode. I am unsure of how I'm feeling about it. A little disappointed. Seems lackluster. And I'm not saying it's I'm not saying that, like, I'm not criticizing the game or anything. Like, I'm really enjoying this game. I like this game a lot. I guess I was just expecting more, or like something different for the first one anyway. I'm hoping it gets better from here, and I will start chapter 2 in the next part. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe so you see when I post the next part. I'm aiming towards fangans on weekends, but sometimes I get a little behind, and that's okay. But yeah, usually I will try to post them on weekends. If I miss a weekend, I might post it on like a Tuesday or even a Wednesday if I don't have another video to put up, but we'll see. 1 or 2 a week on the weekends. I hope you enjoy. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.